and one. This is SHB Unfiltered, the podcast, the only daily live podcast featuring Q&A on Facebook Live, continuous podcast, daily podcast, the only one around featuring people who stutter. We are currently on episode what, Chris?
Number 44.
Episode 44, which means I'll let you tell everyone what that means exactly.
We have been going live every day for 44 days consecutively.
44 days, which is pretty incredible. We started when lockdown was first imposed 6 weeks ago, and here we are still running, still killing the game. We're still making movements, and we made a promise on that day, Chris, and I don't like breaking promises.
No.
This is why I'm here still. I would have asked to be polite, as always, do the formalities, but guys, I've got Ayo Adesanya and Christopher Jackson. I'm Ruben Polite, and guys, how was your day today? Or how's the day been so far? Because there's still so much more to the day left. Don't be shy, guys. Don't be shy. Come on. It's 44.
Oh, it's been a good day for me. I'm just parked outside my house, as my house is noisy, a bit too noisy today. So I thought I will enjoy the weather in London. It's a bit cloudy, but it's good enough to do the podcast outside. Had a nice walk this morning, refreshing. Now I'm on the podcast. Let's get down and dirty.
That's cool. And CJ?
Today's been okay, but it's been extremely cold. The boiler's packed up in my house, and the engineer, can't come until Tuesday. So we haven't got any heating in the house. A little bit cold, but we're getting through it. Ain't the end of the world. Today's been good. Just experimenting, trying to learn again, just touching up on a few skills, and yeah, stuff that could be useful for the SHB podcast in the future. So just been doing a bit of work. How you been, Ruben? What's been happening today?
Cool, man. I've been up since 7 right here with the SHB Reading Club. Really enjoying that. It's a great way to start the day, especially because I probably went to bed around 2 in the morning yesterday. It's pretty late. Busy working on stuff for SHB, and then we actually got into a new series on Netflix called Kingdom, and it's decent. It's quite gripping. It's a lot of suspense and stuff. It's a Korean drama with like the zombies and stuff, and it's really good. I do recommend it. It's a nice change from Power because the acting is on a different level. So I'm really enjoying that. Been a good day of cooking as well. I'm gonna put some cool stuff on my Instagram after the podcast. Check out my Instagram profile, Instagram stories especially. You're gonna see some madness on there. And doing a special edition of the SHB Unfiltered podcast today. Special because we're doing it really early. No particular reason. One that actually came to mind, which I will tapping into, is there's a live stream at 5 o'clock featuring one guy I've been looking up to for the past few years, Brian Rose, on the London Real podcast. And he's interviewing conspiracy theorist David Icke on some controversial topics. But if you don't know who Brian Rose is, check him out because he's wicked. And that's it for me so far. Like I said, there's a lot more to the day left. So half time, I'd say. Maybe more because it's been awake for so long now. I think we are ready. I think Ayo is tense. He's can't wait for this podcast to really start getting the meat of things.
Yes, can't wait.
Looking around. All right, guys. I'm not sure if you've seen the title, but I called it the future of speech therapy. Reason being, we have discussed many times here about the landscape of the stuttering community, different groups, different schools of thought, different kind of small programs, big programs, and approaches. But what I wanted to delve into today is the future of speech therapy. What could it be like in 10 years' time? Because I'm sure 10 years ago, people who started would not think that we would have this many organizations or people doing all kinds of therapies or programs or approaches online or in person, and thinking really outside the box. So I thought this would be a good opportunity just to discuss our collective ideas and see what could happen in 10 years' time, where speech therapy would be. And I thought it would be a good kind of exercise for us, because then we can maybe pick out ideas and incorporate now and get ahead of the curve, really, and be really on the cutting edge, because I think we are at the moment, but need to keep progressing or you get outdated, get pushed back. I can top of my head and name 1 or 2 programs that would be screwed right now given the coronavirus, and they have to stay 2 meters apart from each other and can't even meet up. And that's just taken 1 or 2 programs out of the game completely this year. What happens to those people, those members, those graduates, those new students? What do they do? So 10 years time, where do you guys see the future of speech therapy, speech programs, etc., etc.? I'm gonna take a step back now and watch you guys bash it out, man. Go on. Go.
I think we have to consider tech, obviously, playing a massive role in how speech therapy evolves and progresses and the delivery of it. Tech is obviously going to play a massive part. There's going to be new apps. There's going to be new ways to coach people. There's going to be ways to coach people in the real world. There could be earpieces or something like that, that coaches can be on the other side of the world to the person they're coaching, and but be able to give them tips and advice whilst they're working on their speech in the real world. You know, rather than someone having to physically be on the phone, they could just have them in their earpiece, and people will want to do that more. Coaches will be looking to implement that more. I don't think the future of speech therapy is a therapist in a room with someone working face to face. I don't think speech therapists will want to limit themselves to that. I think that with tech, they have to look at the broader market. There's no reason why you can't coach someone on the other side of the world. But in terms of what is actually taught and what is actually coached, I think that will change a lot over the next 10 years. I think that speech therapists that do courses and do become speech therapists, is it clinical speech therapists? Is that what they refer to?
I think so, yeah.
I think that they will be looking at more unorthodox approaches that are beginning to get proven, because there's going to be more of a track record. There's going to be 10 more years of people trying out different things. So I do feel like they will be forced to having to incorporate unorthodox methods such as what we use as part of their program, and they're going to have to learn how to implement it and how to teach it. Otherwise, I do feel they will get left behind.
I may have to challenge that.
You can.
Reason being, I remember a particular talk AO did a few years ago at a university. Can't remember which one, but he literally had a picture of John Harrison on his PowerPoint in front of a lecture theatre, and introduced him as John Harrison, and asked all the speech and language therapists and students, do you know who he is? And they said no. And And for us, he's literally the godfather of the SHB kind of ethos, right? The mentality. He's where kind of the concept of SHB applied to stuttering really began. Well, for me personally, and I think for you guys as well. Correct me
It's
if I'm
like the
wrong.
Wiley.
Exactly, it's Wiley.
It's like the Wiley of
Yeah.
grime. He's like the
Exactly.
Wiley of stuttering. He invented the whole no
Exactly.
holding back belief and system. I was gonna say
I'm
in response to
Dane,
Chris.
AO Stormzy, and this is Rams.
This is Rams. I was gonna say I agree with Chris in terms of the tech. Tech will change a lot of things for people like us, not for speech and language therapists. I don't think in 10 years' time a lot will change in terms of what they do. I think a lot of them will continue to do what they do as it works for them. They are only one person. They can only help so many people. And I don't see them changing their ways as they're still making their money and helping the people in their own way. But for people like us, we will grow as the tech improves. We will be able to help more people at the same time. I just see a future where eventually people who do what we do will be the dominant force in stuttering. Maybe give it 20, 30 years, it will just be us in the end because of the, like you said, Chris, the proven track record and the branding and the resources we will have by then.
Yeah, but what I want to say in response to that, Ayo, is just because I'm a speech and language therapist now, it doesn't necessarily mean that I don't want to take on the laptop lifestyle. That they still have the right to take on the laptop lifestyle, even though they work in that profession, which usually they would have their practice room, people will come to them. Look how many people are launching programs online and they're not fully qualified and this and that. And I think that they will try to use that to their advantage, that they have got the specific qualifications, and they will try to use that as their USP against organizations such as us, who are not qualified speech and language therapists, and that will be their route to it. I can see a lot of people doing that because in every other world, every other industry, people are doing that. People are choosing to work from home or work on the road or move abroad and live the laptop lifestyle. So I don't think, if they could and the tech allows them to, and they find an effective method of still teaching what they want to teach that way, I don't see why they wouldn't use that method, personally.
But if your entire class of graduating SLT, speech and language therapists, if they say there's 35 of them, now if all of them start an online program and they use the fact that they are all SLTs qualified from the same place, then I think they would saturate themselves. And that's where people like us who are doing things maybe differently, and a few other people in the stuttering community doing things differently, could stand out, because the USP we have is we stutter and we manage to solve our own individual situations ourselves to a certain extent, and are still conquering and still proven track record, as well as you both said. Because SRTs, yes, they can do a VP, but they aren't going to have a proven track record. We are more likely to have one than them.
Well, that's a strong argument. And I think they would say to that is, we do have a proven track record. We've helped so many people in their therapy. So, could go either way. But
what do you mean by help? But what do you mean by help? Do you mean what, like, they come in, they feel happy after 1 hour, they get a sweet or a lollipop and go home.
You have to be careful here, but they help people in their own way, and I guess they would have their own testimonials.
Yeah, of course. Now,
Yeah.
what I'm trying to do here is propose like a balanced argument, because in a second I'm going to actually spin it and say, well, the dev spent 3-4 years specifically studying the biology, the anatomy, the physiology of the mechanics of speech, and now you got Chris, who's got a recruitment company, and AO from social media blueprint. Like, what do they know about speaking? And that could be their, that's going to be their kind of counterpunch. So it's literally up to us to actually justify and produce the results to back up what we plan.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I also think we are different, as we are, again, like you said, people who have stutters. And we are the example. We are like the people we're trying to help. So we can connect much easier and much deeper. So we have that advantage. And the proof is on our Facebook, Instagrams, everywhere. And we are growing every day. So in the next 10 years, it's looking good for people who do what we do, for sure. But I still, like Chris said, maybe he's right. Maybe speech and language therapists will adapt to some extent and gain some traction.
Well, to be honest, they're going to have to, because if it gets to the point that people are choosing unorthodox approaches over their approach more often than not, then it only makes sense that they adapt and they incorporate a few of other things into their way of working. The only thing is, then, will they know how to implement it? Because they don't have a stutter, they haven't been through the trenches, they haven't been through their highs and lows. This is where the separation comes in my opinion. But listen, I'm not here to bash them. They have a place in the industry. They do what they do, and we do what we do. I just think over a period of time, unorthodox approaches won't be considered unorthodox.
I've got an interesting point as well. So we've been now in a lockdown for 6 weeks. Now, if you were a speech therapist and if you have not started to actually conduct anything online in this past 6 weeks, put it together, some kind of video training or program, or even just doing sessions over VC, then I can't see that person doing anything in the next 3-4 years until it becomes the norm. And by that point, they would already be behind the curve.
Well,
that's something we have been doing for some time now. That's why this whole lockdown thing was pretty seamless, and it just allowed us to double down on what we were doing already. But I think that kind of we do have a more forward-thinking approach to like the coaching itself and the holistic approach, and B, the forward-thinking approach.
Yes, we do. Completely agree. We help people start not just in terms of their speech, but we help them in terms of their life. And I think that's what is missing in traditional speech therapy. We offer a holistic approach, a complete holistic approach. Chris?
Yeah, I just want to go back to the first point that Ruben raised. I think it depends which speech and language therapists what organisation they work for during this time.
But then how do you differentiate if they've all been certified and qualified at the same place, right? Because they all got the Royal College of SLT, the kite mark thing. Yeah, but in theory, they're all cut from a similar cloth.
Yeah, I appreciate that, but it depends who is providing them with their clients. Are they working for the NHS or are they private? Are they responsible for bringing in their own clients, or are they being fed through the NHS system? If they work through the NHS system, then they're not under so much pressure to keep engaged with certain people that they've been working with and try to bring in new clients. They would have probably been prompted to adapt by the NHS, but the ones that are sitting back and are private and are thinking, I'll just pick up where I left off after this, they could potentially find themselves in the issues that you're describing.
The truth is, also, the biggest truth is, it depends on their marketing and them as an individual. How are they charismatic enough to get on video, sell their services to help people? It all depends on their marketing and how tech savvy they are, and how willing they are to actually stay on the cutting edge of speech therapy and tech relating to speech therapy. So I think it's really down to the individual. But with us, because we're a team, we know what we got to do, and we are on the edge, the cutting edge.
I half expected AO to actually plug a bit of social media marketing in there and offer services, but so I was surprised he held back. I'm gonna slightly shift the conversation away now to a different side of the question. So going back to what Chris said in response to the first point about where we could be in the next 10 years, the progression of tech and apps, etc. Do you think these approaches would be well received by your traditional person who stutters? So if you think of an average traditional person who stutters, that kind of personality type and that kind of and all the stuttering characteristics that come with the speech impediment, do you think that a more remote way, or all these apps and these things, would they actually be effective? And just a final point on that, with SHB, because we conduct pre-screening before embarking on kind of coaching someone, because we want to be realistic. For everyone else who would not get pre-screened, if they go to an SLT on the NHS, what would they be doing if they are being remotely treated or spoken to, whichever term you want to use?
Just to clarify, speech and language therapists do have screening, just to make sure we're not saying anything that's not true.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, they do.
But I thought the screening was more of a assessment before they begin, because with their assessment, they would identify if the person stutters or not first, and then if they do, take them on as a client. Is that right?
Yes, they have I think it's a set standard they use to assess their clients. So they have to ask these set questions to make sure the client is can do their program.
I did not know that, so I apologize for my misinformation. But the question still stands.
I think it can be effective either way. I think doing coaching over a video conference can be effective. It's been proven. We've proven it. We've made use of it, and we've made an impact, a massive impact on people's lives. So I think it can be effective. It's ultimately boils down to how motivated the individual on the other end of the phone call is, or on the other end of the video call is. You can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink, and you have to allow them to implement it as well. They have to take responsible, and they have to be accountable for what they do in their own time.
Yeah, totally agree. And it's proven for us because we helped someone last week. We only had the means of Zoom and the skill we have in helping people. And this person got his dream job. We coached him how to get through an interview by helping him focus on our technique and the mindset, all of that stuff. And he got his dream job. So it's proven. What we do is proven.
That's incredible. And what did he do afterwards? Don't worry, I'll just refer back to an episode that we did, I think the day after that, right, Chris?
Yeah, I think a day or two.
I'll get the number maybe and mention it later on. But cool, that's really interesting. I'm actually looking forward to the next 10 years because what we have learned over the last 6 weeks will be very valuable, right? The amount we've done over Zoom is incredible, I think.
Yeah. Apologies, everyone. I was going to say, I think that we have a lot to look forward to, a hell of a lot to look forward to over the next 10 years. We're really in the prime position. Like, we're in pole position here to really take things to the next level. So I'm really excited about it.
The best part is this isn't me being bitter or anything, but I do remember us getting somewhat censored during the first week or two of the podcast by a certain stuttering charity in the UK, and we're still like so active. We're still so active. We've got a daily podcast. We got a forum that runs 7 a.m. where we go through readings and everyone's working on their speech. Then we got webinars on the weekend, and this thing is going and progressing so effectively. We are making the best use of kind of a bad situation in the sense, but like think of where SHB was probably at the start of lockdown 6 weeks ago, and 6 weeks on, how do you think like this has progressed? Because I think it's just grown and it's just been fast tracked into a well-oiled machine now that is ready to tackle kind of the post-quarantine, post-self-isolation, like rest of 2020, to be honest, 2020.
Yeah, if we think about it, before lockdown or since lockdown, we've launched a podcast. We've created a book club. We've launched that. People are tuning in every morning. People are loving it. We've started a Q&A, a live Q&A every week, every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. where we were expecting these Q&As to last 15, 20 minutes, and they're lasting 2 hours. Our WhatsApp group is more active than it has ever been now. And everyone in there wants to work on their speech. Like, we've come so far in such a short space of time where we're supposed to be in the most limiting position at the moment.
Definitely, and I think it's probably a testament to the forward-thinking nature of us and what we want to do, because we understand kind of the limitation we may have with our size, but we can make impact using all these tech available to us.
I think it's more to do with agile working, Ruben.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Definitely.
Being prepared to change direction and adapt to whatever is thrown at us. If you try to push the same thing over and over and outside world has completely changed, then you're fighting a losing battle. You're almost smashing your head against a brick wall.
Great. I'm just gonna give some love to the Facebook feed. So we've got Saurabh, who says, great to be part of the discussion and part of the group. So Saurabh is from India, and he actually joins the webinars, the Q&A sessions, and he's been on the reading club as well. So thank you very much for getting in touch with us and actually kind of trusting us with your time, and kind of a different demonstration that we have a global appeal. So we have people joining us from different countries, which actually, interestingly, factored into the next question I have, which is, do you see a shift in the type of PWS, person who stutters, that will kind of arise in the next generation? So I'm sure there's been generational trends and shifts.
I'm gonna answer this one.
Previously, you would have had kind of older people who had been, I'd call it oppressed in schools, deemed dumb and stuff, but they developed like a bit of a hard exterior and kind of soldiered through it, and they carry on that tough exterior and rather just put it behind them as opposed to open up, which served them at that time. And then now, with more of a PC society, a lot of high profile people speaking about vulnerabilities, now young people are able to actually share this information, share this knowledge about themselves. Going forward, where is the next shift? Where will the next rising be? What is the next type of person who stutters?
For me, the next type of person who stutters is someone who doesn't call themselves a stutterer. That is part of my mission in life. I take this to heart. I hate the label stutterer. And I want to instill in people who have stutters that they are not stutterers. They are more than their stutter. They are human beings, and they have a number of things. They play sports, they like to cook, they like art. They are not just their stutter. And I think with a shifting mindset like that, we're gonna have a lot more people who have stutters, have higher self-esteem, higher confidence, and who do not just think they are their stutters and that's it. They're gonna think, I have a stutter, but I have this as well. I have these skills and qualities too. Having a stutter is just a small part of me. So that's my aim. And I think with a shift in how people who have stutters and the way they see themselves, I think people who go through working on their speech programs with us and other people will have a much better experience and will actually become more confident, more self-esteem, and live the lives they actually want to live.
That's your aim for people who like you end up coaching, but I was thinking more of like the type of personality growing up stuttering. That was more what the question was kind of aimed at, as opposed to people who eventually get onto your program and follow through, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. So you're asking me if,
like, what type of personality, as in like, what type of personality in 10 years time will be walking through the door at SHB? What type of, that was what the question was.
The same. I don't think anything will change if the mainstream have not changed their perception of stuttering, or as a collective, the stuttering community has not changed. it's going to be the same type of person who comes to us or to a speech therapist asking for help in the next 10 years.
CJ?
I see where it's coming from, and I think certain personality traits will be the same. But I think what will be different is people's attitude towards working on their speech will change over the next 10 years. I think people, at the moment, there's a lot more people reluctant to work on their speech as there are that really want to work on their speech. And I feel that over the next 10 years, that will change. I think now there's more people active in the stuttering community, and hopefully they'll be more active in other communities rather than just the stuttering community. People can go online and they can see a Ruben, and they can see an AO, and they can see a Chris. Or for people that are younger, they're going to see a Callum Schofield, and they're going to be like, okay, they have stutters, they run a stuttering pattern of behavior, but they're doing all these things. They're active on social media. They're doing this, they're doing that, they're playing sport, they're doing all these different things. So I want to work on my speech because that is what is going to get me to where they are living life on their terms. So I think you will still see the same personality traits. You still will see people quiet, timid, avoid, and sensitive, very self-conscious. I still think you will get people like that. Not everyone, but you will still get people like that. But I think their attitude towards wanting to work on their speech and higher level of acceptance from the time you start coaching them will be different.
Really interesting. Saurabh says that he agrees with AO. So there you go, yeah, you've got someone that agrees with you. Interesting enough, I actually have a different answer to the two of you. But I just wanted you to hear me out quickly just to see my thought process. So like I said before, people growing up in even centuries ago, they were putting rocks in their mouth, putting vinegar and all this crap on their tongue to fix their tongue, getting string and pulling their tongue and doing all these exercises to the mouth to try to address stuttering, but it didn't work. Then as time went on, people got a bit more common sense and realized that these things were not working. Now, like I said, with the 70s and the 80s, people here getting bullied at school by their own teachers. Class is dumb, sidelined. But they developed like a very tough exterior because they had to develop that, because if they didn't, then they would be pushed on the brink. And they carried on those exteriors into adulthood to a point where when I met them, yeah, they say, like, oh, I've got a stutter, but yeah, I don't care about it. And it's just behind them. And they refuse to actually even open up about it, which may help other people, other young people like me, kind of with their experiences, like learn a bit. But they would rather just put that whole episode behind them. Now, currently with us, you have a generation who are growing up in a more PC world where it's easier to be open about your kind of vulnerabilities and diversities. So I think depending on how things go in the mainstream, in 10 years time, I think things like stuttering there'll be people who would somehow make it fashionable. And by fashionable, I mean, you may see more characters on TV shows stuttering, or it will be a bit more like kind of, it will be more popularized. It wouldn't just be kind of a sideline issue. Like now you are seeing more and more mentions or people written into plots who have some kind of ADHD or autism spectrum or different types of things. So stuttering will be more recognized in film and TV with regard to plots and writing. And like I said, it may be more fashionable to actually have a difference like that. in a strange way. And I know I'm saying that, and you're probably thinking, hang on a minute, there's nothing stylish or fashionable about stuttering. But in our parents' generation, if they were stuttering in the 70s and 80s, would they even imagine their kids to actually be doing this kind of stuff? Podcasts, blogs, and all this kind of stuff off their own back within this type of world. They wouldn't be able to believe it. So this is what I'm like trying to think outside the box, as in what haven't we got at the moment? And this is what we may have. So that's my 10 cents. And I can allow you guys to destroy me completely. It's cool. But
you know, I can't really disagree with you because I don't know the future. Like you said, a lot has changed just in the last 10 years in terms of people like us having the confidence to do podcasts and start charities and programs. So you know what, mate, you could be right or completely wrong. I have no idea.
It's probably the second, but I wouldn't mind being right as well.
You could be right, but I think what you're describing, Ruben, is more geared towards fluent people's views of stuttering. I don't see that changing the individual personally. I think you could be 100% right with how other people view it, and there's more awareness, it's more accepted. People will be more aware of how it affects the individual. There'll be more TV characters. There'll be more people in films playing people that stutters, and it could just be like a regular character without it being magnified or a leading plot that he's got stutter or she's got stutter in the film. I think in terms of the individual, I don't see how that will remove the guilt and the shame if they have to change their order when they get to the front of the queue at McDonald's and have to change for something they can say rather than what they actually want. Situations like that, I don't see how that will reduce word swapping, avoidance, and all these other things that create the issues that go along with stuttering. I don't see how that will help that or change it personally.
I just want to add something quickly. You know, with TV, I'm a realist. I would like to say I'm a realist. And yeah, if there's a Hollywood movie and they have a script and they employ a person who stutters, it depends on how bad their stutter is. If this person has a slight stutter, he just repeats sounds and words every now and again, yeah, he might get the role. But let's be frank here. If it's someone who is overtly stuttering for like 30 seconds on a word, they're not going to get the role because it's going to distract from the film. It's going to distract from the plot. And that's my perception, and that's what I think will happen. Because you know what, stuttering is it's not fun, and you can't pretend it's fun.
I agree with you on that note, but I'm saying 10 years time, I think outside the box in the sense that I think there'll be more people like Drew Lynch about. So like imagine KSI videos, but KSI stutters. And this guy who stutters becomes KSI, or Logan Paul, and doing the exact same thing, but they stutter. This is what I mean by like kind of different, like generational shifts. You get more of these guys like kind of, but they stutter as well, but they're doing mad things and blowing up.
But the reason why Drew's famous is because he stutters. That's why he blew up. Not because he's got talent as a comedian. He's a comedian and he stutters. That's why he's famous. That's why he blew up. 100%.
But I personally think the same thing could happen to Logan Paul and KSI if they stuttered as well. But if they still manage to get to that personality and the antics that they do now. So I think there'll be more people like that in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot more clowns online doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I can see where you're coming from, but that person has to have it in them. So just because you've got a stutter, it doesn't mean you don't have that in you. You just got to find a way to.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like,
Without a doubt. If I was growing up in that generation, so if I was a teenager in 10 years' time, I reckon that would probably be me. To be honest, just the way. Trust me, man. I'm a clown, man. But, fortunately, it isn't me. Fortunately, I managed to grow up in time. Well, age-wise, but Callum Schofield left a sizable comment in the Facebook feed, which I want to read out. I think to reach the point where stuttering is more common on TV, media, etc., I'd say there needs to be more big names who aren't so much people who stutter, but openly stutter. For example, I've never heard Bruce Willis stutter, but I have heard Ed Bull stutter. But I do agree that I think stuttering may be normalized. Thing is, with Bruce Willis, I can't remember the last time I heard him do a live interview. Now, if anyone's going to do a live interview, that's the point when you hear them stutter. You aren't going to hear them stutter on Die Hard when they've kind of gone through the script and gone through the takes. That will end up on the chopping room floor. So unless you follow his live interviews, then you can take your piece of paper and do a tally count, for all the blocks and freezes. Ed Balls, on the other hand, has to stand up in Parliament, well, back in the past he did, and put his point across. There, you're more likely to encounter disfluency, which means that it's more prominent and recorded. What do you guys think?
I think it also depends where they're speaking and what situation they're speaking in. Like, for example, Bruce Willis, if he ever did do a live interview, is to promote this new amazing movie that everyone's in awe of. So it kind of puts him on a pedestal. Whereas Ed Balls, if someone's coming at him and he has to defend his point, that's a tough situation for anyone to be in, let alone someone that's got a stutter. So it's a different situation.
Definitely,
it's completely different.
And if Bruce Willis is being interviewed, the other person's probably kissing his feet or something, because Bruce Willis, because I've seen him on the Graham Norton show, and he was cool. He didn't block or anything.
Yeah, and also we can't forget that for some people, stuttering is situational. And we have to stop this belief that if you got a stutter, you should stutter all the time. I think that's the problem the mainstream have. If you have a stutter, you either have a stutter or you don't. The mainstream need to realize that people who stutter can be fluent sometimes and come across normal, but in other situations can be suffering with not being able to get a sound out. And that was the case for me. So if you want people who stutter to be on TV, you can't then tell them you have to stutter because you're on TV now. You cannot put that responsibility on them, or else it's just fake. Let people be. If they stutter, they don't. Exactly. Let people be. Let's let people be. You can't push this or force this, or else it's not going to solve the real root problem.
The other thing is, it gets a bit weird, right, when they're on TV, because you end up like half listening to them, but then half waiting for them to like block or stutter pretty much, and it
exactly.
It just becomes a bit weird. Yeah. It just becomes weird.
Yeah, that's an issue. Okay, he's got a stutter, but at the end of the day, he doesn't owe anything to the stuttering community to have to display it if he isn't having a genuine block. There's no need for him to put on a stutter just to raise awareness or advertise to the world that he has a stutter. He knows he's got a stutter. He's done enough. Someone like Bruce Willis has done enough for the stuttering community. I've seen speeches he's done at stuttering charity events and stuff. There's no need for him to put it on more than he has to because he's got a genuine block.
Cool. That's me out of questions. Do you guys have any additional points to raise, actually? Has anything come to mind? Have you learned anything from each other, or just from talking through things that you had already? Have you surprised yourself by something you said?
No, I've got a question for you guys. Going back to the future of speech therapy, which is what the episode is essentially about.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. How effective do you think apps can be in the future of speech therapy? And this is for both of you. Just apps. I'm not talking about video calls and someone coaching. I'm talking about an app.
It depends on what the app can do, if I'm honest. If the app can help coaches understand how the client is speaking, that's great.
No, I'm not talking about coaches involved. I'm just talking about the app coaches.
So the app is the coach, like machine learning.
Chris,
Like,
all I'm going to say is, does everyone who's got a Fitbit, do they look fit?
No.
Because in the end, if you have poor habits, poor discipline, and can't apply things, you can. We had this term in football coaching before. We used to go to sessions and see people whip out all these cones and put bibs in everyone and have all these kind of complex things out, but didn't know how to coach. And that term was all the gear, but no idea.
Yeah, but what I'm asking is, how important do you feel the human interaction is, and being able to ask questions rather than it just being dictated to you through an app?
You know what, Chris? You wait about 50 years. One day, we'll have an app which talks to the client, says, you know what, slow down, do this. It's got to have all of it. Machine learning, that's coming in. So wait, even wait 20 years, that's going to be here. But until then, you need humans completely, 100%, or it's not going to work.
I can plus, like, even with humans, we've been advising and coaching people, but do they take on our advice all the time? All the time? So why would they listen to someone through an app? As in, what's the difference? If they are going to take your advice, if you actually meet them in person, Zoom them, phone them, or even text them, what's the difference with the app? In the end, if anyone is not going to take action, they aren't going to take action.
Do you think people will be more inclined to take action when being coached by a human as opposed to an app?
I think it will be like a specific personality who would download the app if there's a cost to it, and actually apply to it and put in the time to actually make the exercises or make the teachings on the app work. But if it's for free and you can just try it out, then that's not going to work. Or if they are just kind of in that loop of just buying and trying stuff in the stuttering world, then that's not going to work either, because you need that discipline inside you to apply anything.
The people who are serious will always seek out a coach, a teacher, a mentor to get to where they need to be. The ones who are not serious will buy the app.
Oh, that's deep. Any final words? But I say final words, but I don't think that can be topped. Go on, Chris. I think anyone wants to go inside.
Nah, I think we leave it there.
Yeah.
He finished it off perfectly.
He ended, man. That was A wicked line, wicked line. Chris, Ayo, thank you very much for coming on this special early edition of SHB Unfiltered. It's been enlightening, to say the least. Really helpful, actually, because it's given me a bit more exciting, in terms of what SHB can do. Maybe hard to visualize 10 years, but definitely over the next 3 years or so. Got a lot of plans and stuff, so it's very, 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 very exciting.
Listen, in 10 years, we're going to be worldwide, global, helping people in every country, bro. Stop holding back.
I don't know what to say. Like, when do we end this podcast? Because the gems are just flowing out one by one. CJ, thank you very much. Ayo, thank you very much. I'm going to call it. And thank you very much if you've joined in the live feed. This is episode 44 of SHB Unfiltered. My name is Ruben Pillai. And as always, stop holding back.